and welcome into today's video. I'm going to be starting Scorchfarer today. This is a kind of a visual novel. It's pretty new. This is a pretty long, I believe chapter based, but quite a long game, so make sure you got some maybe some popcorn, some soda, some water, just a little snacky, and let's get into it in a moment. I'm interested to see what this is fully about, because like my Let's Play series is very first time playing type of thing, so let's just get into it, shall we? Here we go. A sheltered heart might not ache, but it will long for the mist turmoil, the mysterious torment that makes them wonder where the perfect version of themselves. The Wanderer and the Anchor. "45 days in the infinite garden of Uzir. Birthmarks and prophecies." The man's fingers moved across the spine of the books in his personal library. Some of them had gathered dust from not being used in a long time. He had spent the last years assembling an impressive collection that he was proud of, even though he didn't remember owning some of them. He's a wolf boy. Adorable. His black hair was starting to fade back into his original snow-like color, beginning from the top of his fox ears and tail. He was quite tall and had a thin build. Let me show you something. Click on the glowing eye up here. The small apartment which he inhabited had a view from high above, overlooking the mountain range and the black forest that surrounded the flatlands below. Such an unusual piece of land could only be man-made. Search for sparks. Oh, here? Machine? Sparkles? What's that? Machine. Oh. My prism machine is very old. I'm actually surprised it works. It still works. Ring. Most, if not all, of this furniture was made of a fake, rigid material which resembled wood. The simplicity of his room was of his own accord, since not much was needed to entertain himself. There was, however, an impatient look in his eye. He had grown tired of this place a long time ago. He found himself staring out the window quite often before going back to whatever he was doing. The sound of the clock on the wall nearby his bed was the only thing accompanying him that solitary night. As the pile of books grew larger, his confidence began to wane. He pored through the books that he had gathered on his desk, rereading the book titles every few seconds, checking their contents on random pages. He scratched his head, not sure which one to choose. She has probably already read most of these, he said to himself while crossing his arms. He rearranged the books on his desk, his picks reduced to just 3. It wasn't until his desk had been properly cleaned that he noticed a faint glowing coming from the contraption on his left. A small rock encrusted inside the machine was creating this glow. An expression of uncertainty appeared on his face. After a few seconds, he quickly discarded the books he had on his desk, piling them up on one another. He opened the lid of the machine, removed the rock resting inside the pocket, and pocketed it right away. It wasn't long before he walked into the entrance and put his shoes on, leaving his apartment without even locking the door. Hey, lock your door. A double knock altered the girl. She knew right away who it was because of the knocking pattern. Oh, he went to his friends, I guess? Yuki? She asked. We got a message. This could be it. Yuki said from the other side. I know it's late, but I really couldn't wait. I didn't want to listen to it on my own. Michi. The door unlocked a moment later and slowly opened, revealing a rather small girl with pink hair. A message this late? She said slowly. Yuki smiled at the girl the moment his eyes were wide on her. He couldn't help but feel happy whenever he saw her. I thought the same, but Yuki took the glowing rock from inside his pocket and showed it to her. If they sent it this late, it's probably important, he said. Yuki placed his forearm on the doorframe at head level. Thank you for being so attentive. It's possible I'd have noticed it a day after, said the girl while she rubbed her left eye. Please come in. She moved out of the way and opened the door all the way for Yuki. Thank you. I've always thought that robe was cute, Yuki said while making his way inside the room. Even though they knew each other for almost a decade, there still was some tension between them, mostly from Yuki as he always got a bit nervous when around Michi's room. I can lend it to you if you want, Mich, he said, with a mischievous smile on her face. Oh my, that would look so, that would actually, like, it's so long on her. This is so long on her, but it would be like knee height for him. might not quite work, you know? Maybe a different size. Your knees will probably get cold though. Yeah, there we go. Michi closed the door and locked it before following Yuki across the room. Oh, it'd look ridiculous in it. No thanks, Yuki said. He couldn't help but shudder at the mental imagery. Yuki stopped in the middle of the room, not knowing what to do. It always smells nice, he said to himself. Maybe she got that good wall plug-in. Nice candle. Those crystals on that table are nicely scented. Michi walked past him and sat on the bed, inviting him to sit next to her. Yuki squeezed the glowing rock in his hand before taking a deep breath. He made his way to where Michi was and sat next to her, close to the machine on her nightstand. This one was much smaller than the one he had in his room, but was made for the exact same purpose. He inhaled deeply while staring at the rock. Michi smiled at him silently as he placed the rock inside the machine with a slight shaking hand. The prism box got to work. It began with the usual crackling sound it makes when trying to receive messages within the rock. Dial-up sound. That's what I imagine. It's just like the sound of old school dial-up. Hell yeah. I need to put that as, like, over the top. Michi took her slippers off, raised her feet on the bed, and took a nearby pillow to keep her hands busy. Do you think it's bad news? She asked. Yuki had his eyes focused on the machine. His brain didn't process her question until a few seconds later. I really hope it's not. It's been so long, Yuki said. He almost got interrupted by a voice coming from the machine. This message is exclusive to Michaela and Yukiharu. Oh, that's their full name, huh? Terraforming Team Ikene? The voice came from the prison box built in the speaker and was of somewhat poor quality, but it was perfectly intelligible. There was a short silence before the next statement. We are pleased to inform you that after some individual evaluation, you have met the minimum requirements for approval. Yuki's mouth opened a bit, as if he wanted to say something but couldn't. His expression was one of excitement, but decided to listen to the whole message before saying anything. Does that mean it's Michi or Mickey? It would be Michaela. I want to change it. I'll say Mickey. Mickey? Mickey. Mickey, on the other hand, immediately grabbed Yuki's shirt with quite some strength. She clearly wasn't sleepy anymore. Yuki, he said. He said... Is that Yuki? He said... Mickey thought for a second about what the man just said. Are we really ready? I mean, am I approved? The girl said with emphasis on the I. She wasn't quite sure about how to put her thoughts into words. Yukiharu was quite excited as well. He took the hand of Mickey, the hand with which Mickey was grabbing his shirt. You won't be assigned to a city just yet. Wait for further instruction in the next few days, said the voice coming from the machine. There was a very short pause. Yukiharu, take care of Mickey. Of course, Yuki said to himself with a sincere expression on his face. Yuki looked at Mickey after a moment. After 3 years. Aww, that's adorable. They both shared a hug, embracing each other tight. That's so adorable. I can't believe it. We're actually leaving, said an excited Mickey while keeping Yuki close to her. He placed his forehead against hers. Promise me, we'll always have each other's back, Yuki said in a calm voice. Count on it, Yuki. I won't allow anything to happen to you, Mickey said, quite confident of herself. Mickey suddenly gasped, letting go of Yuki. We have to tell the prefects. We have to tell the prefects. We also have to get everything ready. I'll start packing right away. Her voice kept getting faster as she squeezed Yuki's hand tighter with every sentence. The pair was excited to finally leave the institute, where they became of age. After all, it had been almost 15 years since they arrived at the South Academy. I think we should wait for the next message, Yuki suggested. He said that they'll contact us in the next few days, but that's very vague. Packing up everything when we could get contacted in a week might be a problem. Let's grab our most important stuff, Mickey exclaimed. Yuki nodded twice. He was overjoyed about finally getting their approval. He grabbed Mickey's hand and guided her to the balcony of the apartment. From far away, they could see an ominous glow of a crimson ring, a light refraction that could be seen hovering above any part of the land that was magically charged. The perpetual flames gave this phenomenon a red-tinted color on the outside. It was an incredible sight, but it also served as a reminder of the sad state in which their world was. They couldn't help but feel respect towards it, though. The pair remained silent for quite some time, looking at the night sky. Even if the ring was a looming threat, nobody could deny its beauty. Thank you for being my partner. These 3 years of wait have been an eternity. Now that we're leaving, it really feels like nothing, said Mickey before squeezing Yukiharu's hand. Yukiharu shook his head a few times. I should be the one saying thanks. We'll be the best terraformation team that has ever existed. You'll see, said Yukiharu. Both of them looked in the direction of the mountain range. Mickey eventually took a peek at her partner's face. She could see the confidence in his smile, mostly thanks to the fact that they were in this together. The Scorch. Infinite walls of fire that cover this world, created in a cosmic event more than 200 years ago. The Mark of the Magnus is how it is called by the people that survived this event. Supposedly the punishment to those who ignored the silent call of nature, the reason the fire rain was cast upon this world is still a mystery. A massive solar flare almost completely eradicating life in this world, eliminating more than 95% of life on the surface. Some places were left intact thanks to the magic or divine intervention. Since then, the surface in this world has become an infinite firestorm. Nothing can survive the condition of this scorched plains. The gods have abandoned us. Almost nothing is left of them. The beliefs in this world were divided in 3 main regions, all of them supported by the divine beings which had no voice in our plane of existence. The ambiguity of these celestial creatures led to different interpretations of what was the objective of these invisible forces in our world. After the fire rain, you could only hear murmurs of the gods. In the wind that whistles through the valleys, in the cold water of the streams, in every fruit that fell from the trees. They left behind their temples and idols, which reminds us of their importance. Their presence is undeniable. However, the people in this world do not have time to stop and listen. There is much work to be done. This is a reality to which the new generations have been born into, which means that they hold no sentimental value of this world. The Crimson Horizon, the aura created by the Scorch, has always existed from their point of view. While the old folk try to decide which star is the one to receive the blame of our misfortune and the destruction of this world, the young ones are working to bring balance back. Terraformation, the magical process through which infertile and abrasive soil is manipulated to sustain life once again. The world depends on this process to survive, not only to create more habitable zones, but to bring back the magic balance to the surface. Terra Magus, a subclass of the Anti-Magus, a specialist in this kind of magic and the ones responsible of healing this world. A dangerous job and often fatal. The Crimson Ring awaits. Mickey has been added to the journal. Yukiharu has been added to the journal. First Flight, Chapter 1. It properly begins now, I guess. Little Sakura. Here she comes, look! Yuki shouted as he pointed at the sky. Mickey noticed a large creature in the distance. Its white scales reflected the light from the sun, making it easier to spot. They were standing on the north platform of the South Academy. The floor of the platform, being made of transparent material, allowed them to see through it. They were around 200 meters above the ground, which would make anyone afraid of heights and not want to step onto it. The platform was connected to one of the biggest entrances to the academy, which was carved on the exterior of a giant apple tree. Loop Pomo, one of the oldest and most respectable institutes of the New World. Do you have everything with you? Yuki asked. I think so, Miki replied. She hugged her partner's arms as soon as she stepped onto the platform. She had never been good with heights, so she preferred not to look through the floor by keeping her head straight. I tried to pack everything I could, but to be honest, I think it's more than I should have. Should I take out the clothes that I put inside your luggage? What if they make us discard everything once we get to Foxtrot? Yuki, help, I'm so nervous. A very nervous Mickey said. She squeezed Yuki's arms. Yuki laughed nervously as he heard Mickey show her restlessness. With a creature like that, I think we can bring all the luggage we want, Yuki said. The large creature flew over the platform before making a turn and landing on it. Yuki covered his face since the strong wind produced by its wings sent leaves and twigs flying everywhere. A wyvern stood proud in the middle of the platform before slowly making its way towards where they were. Ooh. Wyvern dragon thing? Her face, she's so shocked. She is so shocked. Yuki moved closer to the creature. He had been trained to ride wyverns during his academy years, so he knew how to approach them correctly. This was his first time meeting this wyvern, though. Compared to the ones that he rode in the past, this wyvern looked more highly trained. As he came close, the wyvern lowered his mouth to smell Yuki. It huffed and allowed him to move closer. Yuki checked the tag that was hanging from the right side of the saddle. Vita. It's a female, as they mentioned, 3 years old, Yuki said with a smile. As Yuki read the tag, he noticed the name of the terraforming group on the tag as well. This is the wyvern that was assigned to us, said Yuki as he stepped back a bit. The wyvern was almost 2.5 meters tall and had a very unfriendly face. Not very usual for a wyvern, Yuki thought. I hope she can't smell fear, or she'll eat me, Mickey said, looking at the creature a few steps behind Yuki. I thought she would be much scarier. Just look at her eyes. Do you think she likes us? She has to. She fixed her hair before speaking again. I remember reading that they are proud creatures. Maybe we should have brought a gift for her. They're territorial, but not that much. There's only one way to find out if she likes us or not, Yuki said, moving closer to the creature once more. He began to stroke the side of her neck. The wyvern didn't move away. However, she looked at Mickey as if expecting her to do the same. Mickey felt a chill run down her spine as she saw the wyvern looking directly at her. The girl moved closer to the creature, extending her hand towards it. Hello, small one. You're our partner now. I'll take care of you as well, Mickey said, followed by an inaudible sigh. I'll help you navigate your way. Yuki isn't that good with directions, Mickey whispered to the wyvern while smiling at the creature. What was that last part? Yuki answered with a dumb expression on his face. Mickey! A very loud scream that came from inside the academy grabbed the attention of Mickey and Yuki. The wyvern moved her head up and looked in the direction of the screaming as well. A girl even smaller than Mickey ran towards the platform. She grabbed Mickey's hand as soon as she was within reach, trying her hardest not to cry. Except for this girl, Yuki had already said goodbye to all of his friends and acquaintances. He knew she would show up, even though everyone else in the academy was busy. I made up my mind, you aren't leaving, said the girl, that had started to tear up almost immediately. I don't want to be alone. Yuki moved closer to the wyvern, which was puzzled by the screams of the girl. Once it realized she wasn't a threat, the creature looked at Yuki again. The man commanded the creature to lower its body so he could mount their belongings on the side of its body. I don't trust Yukihara. He's a bad influence. she said out loud. How am I a bad influence again? Yuki yelled back at her while he was working on Quita. The wyvern only looked back and forth throughout the conversation. I know, I'll go with you, the girl screamed, ignoring Yuki's question. Ika, calm down. If it wasn't for Yuki, you know we wouldn't have gotten this far. Thank you for worrying so much, Miki said, embracing her. I'll be alright. We'll be alright. I'll tell you about it whenever I can, I promise, said Miki, trying to calm her friend down. Ika slowly wrapped her arms around Miki. Ika slowly wrapped her arms around Miki and began to sob. After almost half a minute, they separated. Ika removed her glasses and wiped her tears. Promise that you'll write to me every day. It's Hermione. Every day. Maybe not every day. Ika put on her glasses and took a brooch out from her pocket. She handed it to Miki, squeezing her hands together in the process. The brooch I had an ornament that resembled the flower that is in bloom of the apple tree of the academy. Every day without fail, Ika exclaimed. A sakura blossom? Every day, Miki responded. Oh my gosh. It's a lot of letters. That's a lot of letters. Even Yuki, right? Said Miki. She looked over the shoulder at him. Yukiharu was almost done with the wyvern, adjusting the straps to make sure nothing would fall off during the flight. I'm not really sure what I could write about. Even less if it was to be every day. How about once a week? Yuki said. Ika frowned upon hearing that, looking at him with just a bit of jealousy in her gaze. If I find out that you touched her... Oh gosh! Oh no! It's this kind. If I find out that you touched her inappropriately, you'll feel my wrath, Ika screamed, causing Yuki to look at her with a confused expression. What if she's the one that touches me, said Yuki, with a small grin on his face. That wouldn't happen, she answered back. She stared at Miki, trying to get some validation. I should get going now, Miki said. Ika could see a bit of blush across her cheeks. Yuki laughed a bit at the moment he saw Ika's face of defeat after noticing how flustered his friend was. Thank you for the brooch. I'll use it always, before hugging Ika one last time. Miki made her hair into a ponytail and used the brooch to tie it. I left some cookies for you in my bedroom as a parting gift, Miki said. I'll eat them all tonight, Ika said. After getting Quita ready for the flight, Miki and Yuki on their wyvern. I can't get over. It's like, if you even lay a finger on her inappropriately. Composure. Be careful, both of you, Ika screamed. And good luck! The wind current created by the wyvern kept Ika from moving forward on the platform and made her clothes and hair move wildly. Miki and Yuki waved back at Ika as the wyvern lifted off the platform. Are you ready? Yuki asked his partner. More than ready. I've been looking forward to this for so long, said Miki, grabbing him tightly from behind. Are you ready, little one? Miki asked as she looked over Yuki's shoulder at Quita. I'm not used to reading this much. I hope I don't fall, because if I do, I'll probably take you with me, Miki said. That won't happen, said the man out loud with a lot of confidence in his voice. He grabbed the reins tight and pulled them to the left, commanding Quita to turn in that direction. The wyvern made its way through the branches of the tree, and that partially obscured the view around the academy. A numbing silence invaded their ears as they got used to the wind moving through the sides of their faces. The couple could see the large mountain range on the horizon and even further in the infertile lands created by the fire rain. These charred lands surrounded by the academy in every direction, their eyes focused on the story in the skyline for a few seconds. Yuki pulled the reins, ordering Quita to make a turn so they could start flying towards their destination. The art in this game is like beautiful. It's beautiful. Story, I should say. Game story. It's kind of both. Terraformation, the process through which infertile and magical charged soil is manipulated to rapidly heal and nurture life once more. This world depends on terraformation to survive, not only to create more habitable zones, but to maintain magical balance. A little over 200 years ago, this is what we read before, a cataclysmic proportions took place. The fire rain, a massive firestorm, was cast upon the world, so destructive that in less than 10 hours, most of life's surface was eradicated. Only a few places, those which had enough time to prepare, managed to survive. Even though some locations were left unharmed, more than 95% of the life on the planet was perished. Most of the survivors succumbed to their wounds, disease, or as a result of the famine that soon followed. Understandable. No fertile land, you know. There's no wheat, there's no like, etc, etc. The magic that permeated these lands released large amounts of heat, making it impossible to get close to them. Nothing could survive the conditions within these zones. The old names of the continent became irrelevant, so it was renamed Uzu. A few decades after the fire rain, in the old tongue of the continent, it meant survivor. You know, the academy was always kind of suffocating for me. To think that without it, a lot more people would have died, Mickey said, holding her partners close. Thanks to it, we can continue to save this land. Yuki got serious right away. The sight of the charred lands was quite ominous. I think we should see it through a different lens. There isn't much left to save on these plains. We can only start over. The academy started to look small in a very little time. Wyvern travel was quite fast after all. Yuki extended his arm to reach out for the compass that was inside the bag, hanging from the base of Quita's neck. He handed it to Mickey so she would navigate them through the skies. For years, the communication between the academies, institutes, and cities that survived was cut. Oceans and large walls of fire made it almost impossible for communities to thrive. They all put their attention to an ancient technique that quickly turned into a priority. Terraformation became indispensable for life to continue. After years of work, corridors were created that managed to connect cities. These corridors were long terraformed areas that kept the flames from bursting out of the ground. The reason they kept their grim look was because of the thick ash from the neighboring charred plains. Even if the land was treated, the conditions surrounding these corridors made it impossible for life to take hold once more. However, their main purpose was a success. The wyvern was very used to the burnt smell that came from the ground. It didn't seem to mind flying over these areas. Mickey sighed. She stared at the ground, in particular the glowing veins on the earth. It must have been a good life, Mickey said. It doesn't seem fair. That paradise that was taken away from them, even before they were born. A world without war, nor hunger, where disease was not that much of a big deal, with how advanced healing magic was. That description was just too perfect for Yuki to imagine. He found it hard to believe such life could even be possible. He understood the nature of people. They are drawn to conflict after all. 200 years after the fire rain, peace between both continents had started to dwindle. Even internal conflicts with Uzu were becoming a problem. It has been a few years since I've been to Foxtrot. How has it changed so much, she asked. That city has always looked the same since the first time I visited. It has expanded quite a bit, but its people haven't changed at all. They're always so friendly and treat magic users with a lot of respect, Yuki said before looking over his shoulder. Mickey hugged Yuki a little tighter. Seeing you this calm while riding Quita really helps my nerves. You're really good at it, Mickey said. Those riding classes paid off in the end, Yuki said. After a short silence, Mickey spoke. We have quite some time to relax, only the three of us. Do you think we'll have to present ourselves to someone once we arrive? Or will we be completely invisible to everyone? Deep inside, she hoped for the latter to happen. Be invisible. Hard to tell. Considering that we have to get one last approval, I think we'll need to talk with someone from the administration staff at the Foxtrot Tower, Yuki said. We'll take advantage of the wind current. Hold on tight. Yuki grabbed the reins tightly, showing a lot of confidence. I trust— wait! The girl screamed as she felt her stomach drop. Peter nosedived in a sudden movement, the wind current pushing them further and making them gain quite some speed. The wyvern regained altitude a few seconds later. Nobody ever could be ready for such a sensation. Mickey thought as she felt the wind cross through every part of her body. It was a terrifying sensation, but also one of her favorites. She felt free. Captain, I think I left my stomach back up there, Mickey said, trying to keep herself together. Yuki kept a mischievous smile on his face all the way through. Ika has been added. After 5 hours of flight, Mickey and Yuki were finally reaching their destination. A very deep fog was preventing Yuki from looking ahead. He slowed down in case they encountered any other dragons, moving the opposite direction. Once the fog cleared, they noticed a very different view down below. City. The dead plains had turned into a beautiful, colorful landscape. Cereals and vegetable fields started to become visible. They saw nothing but farms for several minutes. They also noticed several other flying creatures moving around this area. Not long after, they arrived at their true destination, Foxtrot. The tower on the north section of the city was the most prominent landmark. It wasn't nearly as tall as the apple tree of the academy, but considering it was the biggest building in the city, it was pretty hard to miss. There was a river that flowed through the middle of the city, east to west. The population of the city was about 27,000 people, making it the 9th largest city in all of Uzu. And the 3rd largest within the Zen's administration. The Foxtrot Tower, being one of the few surviving buildings of the old world, became a place of importance in the continent. It's also the home of Xiao, the ruler of Olam, the country southwest of Uzu. This made Foxtrot the capital city. This tower also became the first and most important headquarters of the Terra Magi in the continent. Mickey and Yuki remained silent for a few minutes while they looked around the city from above. Their eyes eventually focused on the large tower near the middle of the city. It's much larger than I remember. Let's go get some rest as soon as we land, or at least you, Quita, Mickey said while rubbing an area on the wyvern's stomach that wasn't covered by the saddle. Quita's breathing had become heavy because of how tired she was. Carrying them wasn't a problem, but the length of the trip was pushing her limit. I keep forgetting to press this. Search for sparkles. Butterflies. Those butterflies are gigantic, I thought. The Litza preferred to stay away from cities and people. Guess not. Yuki guided Quita directly towards the tower. Their instructions were to go there as soon as they arrived, after all. There were platforms in different heights of the tower. They noticed someone was standing near the entrance of the east platform near the top of the tower. Yuki thought he recognized that person until he confirmed their identity by landing. They noticed someone was standing near the entrance of the east platform near the top of the tower. Yuki thought he recognized that person until he confirmed their identity. I already did that. Your uncle! How am I not surprised that he's the welcoming party? Said a not very excited Yuki. Mickey's uncle was talking with someone at the time. A conversation that didn't last long, as they parted ways as soon as the wyvern stopped moving its wings. I thought he would be busy with work at this time of day, Mickey said as she waved at her uncle, who already had his full attention on them. She squeezed Yuki's waist. I didn't think we would meet him this soon, to be honest, Mickey said nervously. He's the one in charge of the new recruits after all, so it makes sense, Yuki said. The man was already very close to them by this point. Mickey, my precious little girl, said the man out loud. Whoa! The man took Mickey by her waist and pulled her off the wyvern. Her security harness was still strapped around her, making her movement very awkward. More awkward than it should be, okay? Uncle Vin, Mickey screamed as she felt how she was being carried with so little effort. She must be very, very, very little and light. That or he's very strong. He's strong, man. Vin didn't seem to care about embarrassing Mickey like that, moving her in the air as if she was a little girl. His laughter was out of place considering his height and high body mass of the man. Yuki wasn't sure what to say. This wasn't the first time seeing Vin and Mickey interact this closely. After wrapping her arms around his neck, a very excited Mickey spoke. I have so much to tell you. We were flying for like 6 hours. Yuki is such a great pilot. And I think that Quita is quite hungry. Her stomach started rumbling and Mickey said. She immediately got ashamed of the fact that she was acting like a little girl. I think we're ready to get our luggage and present ourselves, she said in a much more mature tone. I'm pretty sure that's Foxy Boy's job, isn't that right? Vin said, as he looked at Yuki with less than a friendly stare. Yuki frowned at the man before slightly shaking his head. I think so, but what? Yuki said before being interrupted by Vin. Mickey, come with me. We have something to discuss, Vin said, finally placing the girl on the floor and removing the harness. He began to guide her inside of the tower. Mickey and Yuki looked confused at this since they were summoned together. Platform. Mickey stopped after only a few steps. Wait, but shouldn't we do that together? Did something happen? Mickey asked. Vin had already moved a few steps away from them. He turned around and looked at them for a moment, realizing that Mickey wouldn't go anywhere without Yuki. He finally complied. Come with me, both of you. Someone will take care of your luggage and wyvern, Vin said. His attitude changed almost immediately, as if he had seen something he didn't like. Mickey grabbed her partner's hand. We'll be alright. We're together after all, Mickey said, squeezing his hand a bit. Her nervousness was quite apparent. It's just that I'm not used to hearing him talk like that. Let's go, Mickey said. After parting ways with her wyvern for now, Mickey and Yuki made their way inside the Foxtrot Tower. A very serious Vin was waiting for them inside the hallway of the tower. The structure was made out of magic infused blocks specialized in preventing and slowing down the natural decay of materials. It's the same property that made it possible for Zhao to protect this place from total destruction. Map. Cartography. Achievement unlocked. Whoa. Vin took them both to the top floor of the tower. On their way up, they came across several members from the terraforming teams. Most of the people in the headquarters were people that actively worked in the field already, which made them especially interested for Mickey and Yuki. After reaching the top level of the tower, they found themselves in a long hallway with a single large door in the middle. The decorations inside of the tower were quite mundane, but it was that simplicity that gave it its sophisticated look. Unlike most of the other furniture, this door was made out of real wood. The door's quality quickly revealed to them that it was one of the last surviving assets of the tower from days of old. Zhao Zhen? We are really going to meet her? Yuki asked, quite surprised. Sedih emblem. Slow down, Foxboy. I was told only Mickey could go inside. You'll stay here with me, Vid replied. Mickey became anxious upon hearing that someone had arranged a meeting with the ruler of Olam for her. I don't understand. Why just me? Mickey asked. Vin shrugged. Don't worry, she doesn't bite. Yuki approached Mickey and said, I'll wait here. Don't worry, I bet she just wants to meet you. Yuki was trying to find a good reason for this meeting to take place so suddenly. Zhao has some kind of distant relation with our family, so there could be a personal reason for this, Vin explained. Alright, Mickey said before approaching the door. I hope she's as friendly as you make her out to be, she said before going inside. Good luck, Yuki said before she closed the door behind her. Mickey was struck by a weird smell the moment she was inside, a thick, sweet aroma coming from a golden bow on the office desk. There was a fireplace on the other side of the office, which was currently lit. The only sound that could be heard were those of the fireplace and the pendulum clock close to the entrance. Hello? Mickey said out loud, trying to grab the attention of someone. My name is Michaela. I just arrived in the city with my partner a few minutes ago. They told me to come in. Mickey paused for a second as she heard an ember from the fireplace crackle. Alone? A voice grabbed Mickey's attention right away. Last time we met, you were just a baby. Please take a seat, said the voice coming from one of the chairs in front of the fireplace. I apologize if I'm a little abrupt. But do we really know each other? Mickey asked as she made her way towards the chairs. Mickey took the other chair. She had only heard descriptions of Zhao Zhen until now. Is that a fox? Oh, that explains the city thing. It's like a foxtail. Cute. Cute. Seeing her was a rare sight even for people within Foxtrot. A small white fox was laying on the other chair. Being a creature of such old age, it was expected of her to be resting most of the day. Her body was partially covered in bandages. Yes, but you certainly won't remember. I was one of the first few that I laid eyes on you, Zhao said. The fox remained still with her eyes closed, enjoying the warmth of the fireplace. You don't have to be formal. I wouldn't want you to be uncomfortable around me. Okay, Mickey muttered. Her eyes were fixated on the fox's white fur. It reminded her of Yuki. Excuse me, could you explain to me what's happening? Mickey said as she remembered how confused she was a moment ago. Does it have to do with my family? I can't think of a single reason why I'd be asked to meet with you alone, Mickey said. It took a few seconds for Zhao to finally respond. Your family has helped me across several generations. You could say I owe them my life. I have always felt there was quite a debt on my shoulders with all of you, Zhao explained. Sadly, most of your family members have distanced themselves from what they represent. I took your upbringing as personal, which might sound quite baseless for me to say, since this is our actual first meeting in which we can acknowledge each other, but I'd like you to know that I have been following your progress up to this point, Zhao explained. The fact you became a Terra Magi doesn't surprise me, Xiao said. She remained silent for a moment, contemplating her choice of words if her choice of words was the best. Mickey kept close attention to everything that Zhao was saying. I welcome you to the most important job of your life. You're more than qualified for this job, however, you'll have to start from the bottom. Academy work is nothing compared to actually getting out there. There's a problem though. Your partner must be replaced, Zhao said, without looking away from the fireplace. Based on his records, he has the potential to become a very good anchor. But a lot of people aren't quite convinced that he is the right partner for you. This job isn't a game. It could cost the lives of both of you in a second if a single mistake was made, Zhao said. Mickey bit her lower lip as she heard what Zhao just explained. She held her hands together on her lap, fidgeting a bit. Why are you so sure about this? If we're not qualified for the job together, why would they call us here as a team? Mickey said, very serious and painted tone. We decided together that this would be our job. Everything that we have done so far, even if it's just academy work, we did together. I don't understand what he's done wrong. There was an uncomfortable silence between them for a moment. Didn't you think it was strange? Almost 3 years of waiting after graduation? A potential danger was seen when you teamed up with that man. So the people that are in charge of approving teams at Grand since decided to wait it out, Zhao said in a relaxed tone. They thought you would get fed up with waiting and you would ditch your partner in the hopes that maybe you would have better chances of getting approved. Mickey was on the verge of tears upon hearing that. She was ready to drop everything and forget about all of this. The interest to start you on the job was just too big, so they went ahead and approved you as a team. However, their attempts to replace your current partner are still in motion. While I'm an authority figure, in these matters, it's still 1 vote against 9, Zhao explained. After holding back her tears, Mickey took a deep breath and spoke. I heard something about it during our academy years, mostly after graduation, while we all waited for approval, talking and judging behind our backs. Mickey stood up, ready to leave. I'm sorry, I won't do this. It's just not going to happen. If you want to send Yuki away, I'll go with him. There's no reason for them to think those things about him. We haven't even done a single real job yet. Even if it takes 5 or 10 years to prove ourselves, we will still stay together, said Mickey. I'm sorry for wasting your time. You are quite different from the person that I thought you would walk into my office one day, Zhao interrupted. The fox looked at Mickey. Even if I don't have absolute authority to approve your team, you happen to be my inside jurisdiction. This country is mine, so we can do something to get you started, Zhao said. This made Mickey relax her body a bit. The idea that there was a possibility of them not being sent back to the academy was quite reassuring. Those people at Grand Since wouldn't want to wait a decade for things to get going with you. So I'm reasonably confident that if we manage to get you to do some jobs without them knowing, it will build enough confidence in your partnership with him, explained Xiao. I'll take the blame for having these jobs done without proper permission. Let me assign you a task within Foxtrot. If you manage to complete it, I'll allow you to take the final terraformation exam, done by the new recruits, under supervision, of course. Thank you so much. I really thought you would kick me out the second I stopped talking, Mickey said. Please, have some faith in him as well. I know what he's capable of. Don't get me wrong, I'm also divided in this decision. I also think you should get someone else, Xiao said. She stood up from the chair. She struggled to stretch her body. The bandages weren't just there as a fashion statement. It's fair that you both are here while I explain your task. So, as Xiao said, she slightly opened her mouth. A deep pink mist came out of her body, quickly reaching the floor. It moved like a serpent through the floor of her office and slithered its way towards the entrance. The moment it reached the door, it moved under the gap. A few seconds later, Yuki made his way inside the office. Hey, Vin raised his voice, trying to impose his authority on him. It's okay, Vin. Close the door, Xiao said towards the man, who was poking his head inside the office. Vin just sighed and closed the door a moment later after he realized what was happening. There he is, Xiao said as she approached him. Yuki extended his arms and picked up Xiao. Yuki made his way to the chair on which Xiao was sitting moments earlier. Mickey could see Yuki's eyes had changed color, a common symptom of a magical surge within the body. He was being manipulated by the fox. Pet me, Xiao commanded. Yuki complied by stroking Xiao's head. His expression was one of relaxed bliss. You have very soft hands, Xiao said. Mickey stared at the scene, dumbfounded by what was happening. Mickey wasn't sure what to think of it. It felt like she was looking at something that she shouldn't. Is this something between foxes? You could have asked me to go get him instead of turning his brain into a smoothie, Mickey complained. She couldn't take her eyes away from Yuki. It was quite unusual to see him with such facial expression. She felt a mixture of tenderness, desperation, and maybe a little bit of jealousy. Xiao laughed a bit. Don't worry, I don't like them this young, Xiao joked. The moment she noticed Mickey's skin stick. Xiao blew on Yuki's face, causing the pink mist to come out of every orifice of his face, dissipating in the air after a moment. Yuki blinked a few times as he tried to make sense of where he was. He didn't seem to have any idea of how he got here. But his memory slowly started to catch up. He vividly remembers walking inside of the office and stroking Xiao, just as if it were the remembrance of something else and not his own. Tell me, why do you dye your hair? Xiao asked Yuki. Mickey, Yuki said in a strange tone before looking down at his lap to find Xiao on it. Yuki, do you feel alright? Mickey asked. Well, she wasn't quite sure what to think of Xiao at that moment. She seemed like a totally different being from a few minutes ago, one with a very twisted sense of humor. Keep the butterflash. I don't quite understand why there's that. I think I'm good. He was quite uncomfortable about the fact that Xiao was on his lap, considering how important she was. Pleasure to meet you, Yukiharu. Right? Xiao said. Yuki nodded slowly, only once. Zhao jumped down from his lap and stood in front of the fireplace, facing the pair. I need to corroborate something before we start, said Zhao. That you both are friends and only that. Miki cleared her throat, looking at Yuki right away. We are very close. But we're just friends, Miki said. She never thought that saying such words could be so hard. She was starting to think that everything that happened in that room so far was designed to hurt her. We've known each other since we first arrived at the academy. We became friends a few years later, Yuki explained, with a fake smile that Miki noticed right away. Xiao looked at them without any real expression, moving her tail from side to side. You both understand Terra Magi's law, right? No relations. It's dangerous, Xiao said. You cannot allow your feelings to get in the way of things once you're in the field. Miki and Yuki remained silent, thinking about what Xiao just said. The Crimson Ring doesn't care about how strong your bonds are, it never has. I have lost so many good friends to it. No romance, no distractions, Xiao said with a very strict tone. She relaxed her voice and spoke a final statement regarding the subject. I don't want anything bad to happen to either of you. Neither Miki or Yuki knew how to respond to that. They were both clearly affected by the conversation. We're conscious of the consequences and what could happen to us, Miki said. It was hard for her to put their relationship on a balance. She understood Zhao's point on reasoning, but there was nothing she could do against her feelings. Yuki knew a talk like this would happen eventually. It didn't matter how prepared he was. He couldn't help but be saddened by it. I'm happy that you understand. You must always take care of your partner, but you also must know when to run. I know it's hard to comprehend, but it's important, Xiao said. There was a bit of a pause before the conversation to jump to a different subject. So, can we work together? Yuki asked with a slightly overconfident smile. Let's take it easy here, Xiao said. First, I need a book. I feel like eventually they're gonna have like an issue with their friendship, cough cough, being more than a friendship, but I guess time will tell as to how much that will affect their mission. I hope you guys enjoyed chapter 1. I will see you guys for chapter 2 soon. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and that you look forward to the rest of this series. I'm going to be uploading this pretty regularly to YouTube for you guys to watch/read along. Make sure you have all your popcorn, your snackies, your drinks all ready for the next episode. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye, guys!